from the Young Turks. I am your host, Cenk, and we have a gigantic show for you today. Oh, Scotty Walker, what have you done? Anakin Skywalker, what have you done? As you probably all heard by now, Governor Scott Walker got punked. Somebody called in pretending to be David Koch, one of the billionaire Koch brothers, and just played Scott Walker so badly. Now, I love that story. We've got all the clips for you. You know how we do on the Young Turks. We're going to break them all down. We're going to show you exactly what they were thinking through the call, which is great. That's coming up second, actually. I got to tell you about Libya first, but then later so many other stories that are important, relevant, interesting. Reversal of the Defense of Marriage Act by the Obama administration. Hey, good news. Lots of news today. All right, but let's start with Libya, because Libya right now is not only huge, but unfortunately, in some ways, fortunately, because they're overthrowing Gaddafi, exploding. So, Libya. Wow. We have a full-scale revolution. We had told you yesterday that the city of Benghazi has fallen. It is the second largest city in Libya. Now, many other cities have fallen to the revolution against Gaddafi. The city of Misrata, it is the closest major city to Tripoli, and anti-government forces have taken over. We have an audio statement posted online by armed forces officers in Misrata saying, quote, our total support is with the anti-Gaddafi government and movement. Well, and I say government partly because they have begun to set up government in different areas throughout Libya. Since they've taken over, they actually need to guard the posts. They need to guard the weapons. They need to act as the police. It's amazing. Zwara, a town about 30 miles from the Tunisian border in the west, has been taken by anti-government forces. Pre-Gaddafi flag is flying apparently in a building in Zawiya, that is 30 miles west of Tripoli. So they're closing in on Tripoli. Two Air Force pilots jumped from their Russian-made Sukhoi fighter jets and let them crash rather than firing from the planes onto Benghazi. One of the pilots is actually from Gaddafi's hometown, which makes it even more interesting. So it's not like the other tribes. It's not like it's just the other tribes that are rebelling against him. It is almost everybody at this point. They have captured the anti-aircraft missiles bases outside of Tobruk. They have set up their own administration in territory that they are controlling. And now, just out today, just a little while ago, one of Gaddafi's closest aides and his cousin, Ahmed Gaddafi al-Dam, has defected. He has gone over Egypt and said that he cannot be with Gaddafi anymore because of the, quote, grave violations to human rights and human and international laws. It is breaking by the minute. Apparently, Gaddafi's forces have attacked a mosque which had anti-government forces in it. They blew its minaret off and seemed to have no issue whatsoever of firing into crowds, firing into mosques. You know, any restraint that they might have shown as Muslim leaders, that is way, way out the window. And, of course, a lot of the anti-government forces are saying Gaddafi is anti-Muslim. So, and, of course, it depends on your interpretation of that, but certainly blowing the minaret off a mosque does not stand well in the Muslim community in Libya or elsewhere. We have more updates now. The UN is convening. They are considering sanctions that could freeze the assets of the Libyan officials. The U.S. is considering a travel ban on Libyan officials. French President Nicolas Sarkozy says we need to cut off economic ties. And the United Nations is considering a no-fly zone. So if Gaddafi puts up planes up in the sky to fire at the protesters, it is a possibility that Western forces, well, and in fact world forces, would shoot them down. And that would be an amazing development. But it looks like it might not even come to that because people are closing in on Gaddafi. Now there are people saying in Benghazi and some of the other cities, let's go. Let's march on Tripoli. And they say, let's help our brothers in Tripoli. Now, some of these cities are hundreds of miles away. Benghazi, I think, is over 500 miles away from Tripoli. They're like, well, we have our forces here. Let's grab some rifles. Let's grab the ammunition that we've now are in control of, and let's march on Tripoli. That's amazing developments. And part of the reason that Gaddafi's in so much trouble is because he kept the army weak and divided. Yesterday we were talking about, gee, why, man, so many defections. What is going on inside of Libya that he couldn't control his army? Well, it turns out there are two things pretty close to what we suspected. One, exactly as I told you yesterday, Gaddafi's family apparently had run amok inside of Libya. He's got 4 sons, one worse than the other, all known for partying, known for womenizing, some arrested for beating their servants in European countries. God knows what they do inside of Libya. People are sick of it. And then the second factor is Gaddafi, since he had actually taken control of Libya over 40 years ago in a military coup, has ever since then has been paranoid about military coups. So he has kept his army weak and divided so that they don't turn on him. Except that now when he needs his army, since he kept them weak and divided, they've turned on him. That's a great irony. And he's using a lot of mercenaries and other forces brought in from the other African countries. And the reason he's doing that is because he thinks they can't take over Libya, but he doesn't trust his army. Well, look, if you treated your army that badly when you need them, of course they're going to turn on you. And that's part of the reason that they are, and that's part of the reason he has lost so much momentum. And now the one other thing he's using to keep safe is apparently, and this story is so unbelievable, I had to check it in 3 different places. I still can't quite believe it. He's using 40 virginal female bodyguards. Okay, and they're supposed to be trained in the latest, fighting tactics, etc. Oh, come on, dude. Okay, if that's what you're relying on, you're in a world of trouble, and who doesn't know that you're actually using them for sex and not really to protect you as much? Come on, man. So this flamboyant guy in all these different dresses that Gaddafi likes to get up in, he's like a mini Michael Jackson, in a world of hurt today as anti-government forces close around him. And as I see all these developments, I think, tick-tock, it looks like Gaddafi's going down. Now, later in the program, we're going to have more on those virgin bodyguards, so-called virgin bodyguards. That story is amazing. We're going to do that in the second hour. Okay. And, by the way, the Obama administration is speaking out. And let's first say Obama himself has called the situation outrageous and unacceptable and saying that we are considering, quote, the full range of options. Now, look, I was a little upset at Obama because here we have a revolution against Gaddafi. It's a revolution we've been waiting 40 years for. What's going on? Why haven't we denounced Gaddafi and supported the anti-Gaddafi movement? As I told you yesterday, one of the theories was that we wanted to make sure we got our American civilians out of there because we didn't know what Gaddafi might do to them before we spoke out. It looks like that's the reality. And so, to be fair to the Obama administration, it looks like they'd been holding off until that. It looks like right now we're doing a pretty good job of getting those U.S. citizens out. And as we get them out, the Obama administration stance seems to get tougher and tougher. Now, look, you can say his stance is getting tougher and tougher as Gaddafi's chances of staying in power are dwindling and dwindling, very similar to what happened in Egypt. But we all know Obama is an incredibly careful politician, for better or for worse. So we get that. Let's move on. So, all right, that's Libya, and it's amazing. Hey, one more thing on that before we walk on to Walker. Look, guys, this is you. I hope you're. I know this is a kind of a weird thing to say, but I hope you're soaking it in because this is history. I mean, what's happening in Tunisia and Egypt and Libya now, and it's not going to stop. You think if Gaddafi goes down, and it looks like that's an exceedingly high chance right now, you think it's going to stop? I mean, there's Bahrain, there's Yemen, there doesn't seem to be an end to this, and it's incredible how fast the dominoes are falling. These dictators lasted for 30, 40 years in the Arab world, in the Muslim world, and now all of a sudden, democracy blooming in ways we couldn't have possibly expected. And anyone who tells you that social media doesn't have a large role to play, they don't know what they're talking about. They're trying to be overly careful and overly cutesy. Oh, revolutions have happened before. Oh, really? No shit, Sherlock. Of course revolutions have happened before. This just makes it easier. It makes it quicker. So Thomas Paine had to go around handing out pamphlets. Here you go, one pamphlet at a time. And it takes a little time, right? And yes, Malcolm Gladwell wrote this article about how the civil rights movement happened without social media. Yeah, but they they organize in the churches, spread the word slowly. And then because of TV, you saw people getting, hosed down, attacked by dogs, etc. All the stuff you hadn't seen until TV came around, you saw in the 1960s. And now this is media on steroids. So when, you see people mowed down in the streets, you see it immediately. And it affects everyone throughout Libya. Look, there's two forces here that are incredibly important. One is it mobilizes, the social media does, democratic governments throughout the world. So before, if we had a dictator ally like Mubarak, and he crushed his own people and he beat the protesters or he killed them or he tortured them, which he did often, well, we never saw the pictures, so there was no outrage in America. So we wouldn't apply any pressure on our president and on our government. And so our president would be like, oh, realpolitik, keep it cool, no big deal, right? And they would never take any action. Now that there's pressure on our leaders in our democracies, whether it's in America or in the West, all of a sudden they got to be like, yeah, we condemn Mubarak. Mubarak, he's a dictator. Oh, I didn't know that. That's amazing. Yeah, we totally condemn him. He beats and tortures people? Oh, golly gee willikers, who'd have known? Yeah, we know because we used to send people to him to get tortured. So that's why social media matters. And then the second part of it is, in Libya, people were so afraid of Gaddafi for so long. And when they see others standing up to him, and it's not reports they heard over the radio, or it's not things that they spread communally. No, they see the pictures, they see the video, and they say, oh my God, there's a revolt in Benghazi. Oh my God, they've taken Benghazi. And now they've taken other towns, and they see a young guy who's standing up for freedom, and then in the next picture, he's shot and he's dead, and he's lying on the ground. And he gets people, one, angry and mobilized, and at the same time, hopeful, because maybe we can stand up to this guy if we all do it together. And you see it. They see it on YouTube. They see it on Facebook. And they, read it on Twitter that, yes, we are all mobilized and we are all united. Social media has made all of the difference. So if anybody's telling you otherwise, don't listen to that nonsense. Look, information is power. And what the internet has done is it has given that information to us, the people. And that is why you're seeing the dominoes fall in the Middle East. That's why you're seeing these movements take down dictators. And it's an awesome thing. All right, now let's take a quick break and come back and give you Scotty Walker.
Welcome back to the Young Turks. Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur with you. As you guys probably already know from yesterday, it's 5:30 in the morning here in Los Angeles, and Jesus is eating the breakfast of champions. He's chowing down on a bag of Cheetos.
Yeah.
Way to go, Jesus. Way to go.
What are you going to do?
I love it.
By
I
the
love
way,
working with guys.
I love how we started to show the Anna hour yesterday with Anna being like, oh, it's 5:30 in the morning here and Cenk looks tired or something. I'm like, no, you look tired.
No.
I'm fine. It's 8:30 in the morning here.
Do not get it twisted, Mr. Boss, okay? You were the one who looked puffy yesterday. I always look fabulous.
Puffy? I don't know. Okay. All right. I think I look puffy all the time, but anyway. Okay.
No, okay. You look fine, Cenk. It's okay. Don't worry.
All right.
All right,
listen.
Cenk, go ahead. I know you have an update on an Obama-related story.
Yeah. I talked about this in the beginning of the show. The Obama administration has decided that they're not going to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. So what that means, then that's a national law saying that it's marriage is between one man and one woman, and that is how the federal government will enforce their laws no matter what the state laws on it are. So, for example, there were a couple of cases that the federal government was defending, saying that in one case, a woman should not have inheritance rights from the woman that from her partner that she had married when she passed away. So she'd have to pay all the taxes that a normal spouse normally wouldn't have to pay when their spouse passed away. So our government and the Obama administration was out there saying, yeah, she's got to pay those taxes. They weren't legally married, and she can't pass it on no matter how long they were partners or no matter where they were married, right? And finally, the Obama administration said, no, we're going to stop defending these cases. And it doesn't mean that the law is overturned, but it does mean as long as we're in charge, we won't be pursuing these cases against gay couples. That's a great, great development. Now, the president is honestly still a little wishy-washy on his personal stance on gay marriage. I don't know if people even know this, and I think a lot of you do, but some might not even realize it. Obama is technically still against gay marriage.
Right.
He's for civil unions.
I don't think he's been wishy-washy at all. I mean, he says that he's for civil unions. He said that he's not for gay marriage. He's been very clear about that.
Right, but he says his position on that is, quote, constantly evolving.
Oh, please. Oh, come on.
No, but you know what it means. But look, keep it real. That's what we do here, right? The reality is Obama, of course, is for gay marriage, but he's a careful politician, and so until the whole country is on his side, he won't switch. If you look at the polling, the country is solidly in favor of civil unions. It's, I think, at this point in the ballpark of about 70%. They're now getting to the point where it's like near 50%, in some polls over 50% in favor of gay marriage. So right now that they're in that position, Obama says, okay, so we won't defend these cases anymore. And when it gets to 60% or more in favor of gay marriage, all of a sudden his position will evolve to being against gay marriage. I mean, come on, Anna, that's exactly what's going to happen, right?
Well, I think he's playing it right if he wants to be a politician. I mean, he's absolutely ignoring the people who voted for him, but he's been doing that the entire time. He's paying attention to polls. He's doing what politicians do. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and, we got to give up on this idea that Obama's going to be a leader. It's just not who he is. He's a careful politician. And there's upsides to it, and there's downsides to it. And one of the downsides is that he's never out ahead. He's always like, where's the crowd going? In Egypt, it looks like the protests are going to win. Oh, yeah, I'm totally on that side, right? And et cetera, et cetera. We've done it a million times. But look, the bottom line here is they did the right thing here. So whether they're leading or following, you got to get, and for me, actions matter a million times more than words. And here they took action, and they took action in the right direction. So in the end, definitely give them credit on this.
All right, it is a good development, so I'm happy to hear about that. But I do want to get to my stories because I got to give myself a little credit. This rundown is pretty awesome. Come on, Cenk, admit it.
I confess.
Okay,
you win.
You confess. Later on in this hour, we're going to talk about a heavyweight kickboxer from New Zealand who fails on camera. You guys will love it. It's probably my favorite story of the day, so I can't wait to get to that. But first, I want to talk about a couple semi-serious stories. Jane Kim from the Wall Street Journal wrote this really great investigative piece about how colleges throughout the country are now denying admission to students who need financial aid. So each university, each college has a budget for financial aid, and those budgets are starting to run thin, right? And universities aren't able to provide financial aid to students. So what they're doing is they're accepting students who A, do not apply for financial aid, and B, can pay their tuition in full. In fact, some colleges and universities are accepting students that are out of state because with state universities, they can charge a higher tuition for out-of-state students.
I got to be honest with you, Anna. I thought that they were doing this throughout. I'm a little surprised that they're either being more honest about it now or are doing it more now. Like, for example, international students that can pay their full way. I mean, I hate to throw JR onto the bus here, but I thought USC took those people without even checking.
Well, USC is a different case.
Bill.
I mean, USC is different. I mean, I'm talking about, reputable institutions.
But seriously, like, I had the impression that if you could pay the full way, that they were a little bit more inclined to take you right away. Maybe the story is that they're now coming out and saying, no, we're a lot more inclined. We're not a little inclined. If you can pay a full way, your GPA is lower. It'd be all right.
Yeah, I think that that is what the story is. And look, it doesn't surprise me either. It's something that everyone's always kind of suspected, right? But now they're kind of out in the open talking about it. And I think it's a good thing that they're being more honest about it, but the fact that they're honest about it makes me think, okay, shouldn't there be some action? Because in essence, you're discriminating against students who can't pay for college or who can't afford to pay for higher education. That's crazy. That doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
you know what it is? It's reverse affirmative action. If you're really rich, then you can get in with lower grades. If you're poor, well, you got to get even better grades than the kids who are already massively advantaged. This is exact opposite of what my proposal for affirmative action is. I don't want to do it based on race. I want to do it on socioeconomic status, where, look, if you're a poor kid in West Virginia or in the Bronx or wherever, you have it tougher. In some of the inner city schools, you can't even take the books home. For you to compete with the kids in the rich schools is amazing. And they should get some sort of, benefit of the doubt if they get really good grades in those contexts, right? But in reality, in the real world, it's the exact opposite. They're like, oh, you're already incredibly privileged and you got lower grades anyway? It's okay as long as you can pay.
Right.
Oh, poor kid, you did great in those circumstances? Well, you can't pay. Sad day for you.
Listen, and the reason why I like that this story has been published is because, people like Republicans especially will say, who cares if you grew up poor, okay? In the United States, you have all the opportunity to pull yourself up and do whatever you want to do with your life. If you want to do something, then you will be able to do it because there are endless opportunities in this country. That is not true, okay? If you are underprivileged, you will remain underprivileged under this system, okay? You can't afford college, no education for you. Sorry about that.
Now, look, I want to be careful here because I think that's an overstatement. Like, so can you still make it if you're poor? You can. But what this shows you is you've got to work doubly hard, triply hard. It doesn't mean you can't make it, and I don't want you to give up hope. I'm positive you can make it. But at the same time, you see you're behind several different eight balls, right? I mean, you got to overcome your current context. You got to overcome the lower funding of your schools, whether it means you can't take the books home or whatever it is. And then when you apply to schools, you got to have even better grades than the rich kids to get in. You can still overcome all that stuff, but God, it shouldn't be that way. It should be that we actually are the land of opportunity and we give those kids a real fighting chance. I think almost every American would agree to that, but that's not what's happening in our real world context here. And actually, the part that bothers me the most is the state schools, because look, those state schools are supposed to give a chance.
Affordable.
Yeah, they're supposed to be affordable, and they're supposed to give a chance to the kids in their state, right? So when they privilege kids that are out of state that are richer, I mean, to me, it's the exact opposite of what those schools were set up to do. So it's bothersome in so many ways.
All right, I just want to say, Cenk, that I disagree with you about me overstating anything. Right now, the average college tuition, if you're going to a non-state school, if you're going to like a UC in California, you're paying at least $20,000 a year. Okay, if you grew up poor, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to afford that without financial aid. So yes, it is possible. I don't want to be the most pessimistic person on the planet. It is possible to grow up with no money, study, maybe get a scholarship and find your way into a great college. But it's becoming more and more difficult, almost to the point where it's nearly impossible. And I think that's crazy. Okay, the foundation of this country was education, giving people the opportunity to do whatever they want to do with their lives. I feel like that's being robbed from people who don't have the money to pay for it. And I think that's crazy.
Look, I know, but they can get loans. I'm not minimizing it. I'm saying it's exceedingly difficult. But they could get loans, and they could do it. I mean, in fact, you're a pretty good example. Didn't you get a full scholarship?
I got a full scholarship, but those were different times. I got tremendously lucky because I went to college. I graduated college, or my undergrad, the year before, the recession happened. I graduated in 2007. So when I entered college, it was 2004. And, the college was like, you have great grades. Let's pour money. Let's give you money. You're going to go to school for free. I got really, really lucky. But that's not going to happen anymore. I mean, my brother had great grades. He entered the same university. They didn't give him a dime for his financial aid. So times are changing. It's getting more and more difficult.
No, I understand that. I think the truth is probably somewhere between you and I, okay, if you want to put it that way. Because look, I'm saying it's really hard, and I'm pissed about it. I don't want to discourage people. You can fight through it.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage people either. I want to be real with you, and I want to tell you what's really going on out there. You know, you got to fight really hard and do whatever it takes. But, you know, there are a lot of things that are fighting against you, I guess. All right, let's go to the next story. UC San Diego is in a little bit of trouble. Actually, one of their school newspapers is in a little bit of trouble. It's known as the Koala. And this newspaper is no stranger to controversy. They have published several things in the past that have gotten them in trouble. They've made fun of Muslims, they've made fun of blacks, they've made fun of pretty much everyone. And the latest thing that they published that got them in trouble is an article titled "Carly Thomas is a Fat Whore." And Carly Thomas is actually a student leader at UC San Diego who recently decided to cut funding for the paper. And I'll explain later why she cut funding for the paper. But we have a local news report on it, and I think it's a good video. So let's watch the video and we'll talk about it.
This is the headline, and this is the picture too obscene to show you of a man's genitals over Carly Thomas's face. UCSD senior Carly Thomas and a student body leader is the target on this online issue of the Koala, a student-run publication. We spoke with Thomas over the phone. She was unable to give us an interview, but says she was mortified upon seeing the article. She believes she was being attacked because of her decision to cut funding to the Koala newspaper. Thomas tried several times to get the article removed. The university denied her based on First Amendment rights. We spoke with defamation attorney Dan Gillian.
This student actually has legal recourse. It's just that her recourse really isn't against the university, but she still has rights to sue under defamation law. And First Amendment does not do anything to defamation law. Essentially, a person can sue for false statements are made about them like these. After showing the article and pictures to some students on campus, they couldn't believe it.
It's not morally correct.
I'm really surprised that I didn't know stuff like this goes on campus.
They are allowed to say what they say, but I do obviously think it's out of lines. I mean, it's an offensive remark, but it is freedom of speech.
We contacted UCSD. It issued this statement. The university does not endorse, condone, or approve of the material the Koala publishes. Under the First Amendment, the university is severely limited in the actions it can take in response to content published by students. Now, we chose not to show the article. It was just too offensive. But if you want to see it, you can log on to our website, fox5sandiego.com, and click on the See On button. Lauren?
Yeah, Christine, I read it. In addition to being kind of gross, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
Here are the things that I love. It was too obscene to show you on TV, but it is on our website. If you go there, when you drive traffic to there, you'll get to see the whole thing. And then the dude comes out and he's like, oh, I read it. It was very obscene. So now look, to the point of whether she can sue or not over this. It's a really good case. It's an interesting case because, look, you have to prove that it's defamation. Now, that sucks. Are you going to go and try to prove that you're not fat? That means they call her a fat whore, right? Mm-hmm. You can't sue over the genitals. I mean, nobody believes that there were real genitals on your face, right? I mean, it's the whole thing. It's terrible, right? But I'm just keeping it real. And then, but the third part of it actually, the student newspaper might be in some trouble. Calling someone a whore is actually one of the biggest errors you can make, biggest libel, etc., that you can get yourself in trouble for. So, I mean, that's some old school stuff. It's in the law. So they might have used the wrong word there, and of course she's not, right? And I know everybody knows that they're doing, they're attacking her, that it's parody, etc. But it would be a very interesting case if it went to court.
Right. Yeah, and I hope it does go to court. Based on some of the stuff that the Koala has published in the past, super questionable publication. So let me tell you why their funding was cut in the first place, okay? It turns out that about a week ago, the Koala went on the university's television station, and they started talking about blacks on campus, okay? And one thing that they said was that here, I have the actual. Student leaders and others say Koala crossed the line again on Thursday when its staff went on air calling black students ungrateful and using a derogatory term for blacks. All right, and then they sponsored this party on campus, right, where they called it the Compton Cookout, and there was a piece of cardboard found there that had the words Compton lynching on it. I mean, it...
Yeah. No. Look, this paper is clown of the earth, right? They shouldn't call it the koala. They should call it the clowna. So I get it, right? For me, my personal take on it is, look, you could put it on the web. You could put it in a newspaper. I think they should be allowed to publish it. It doesn't mean anybody should read it, and I certainly wouldn't read it, and I think the people who are putting that together are the worst, right? But I mean, what am I going to sue because they're idiots?
No, you don't sue. Look, Cenk, you don't necessarily sue. I mean, the girl who was attacked can sue, for defamation because she was called a whore, right? But the students are funding this publication. That's the problem. Like, if I were a student at UC San Diego and I found out that some of my money is going toward this terrible publication, I'd be pretty upset about it, especially considering the fact that college is insanely expensive anyway, right? So I wouldn't want my money going to it. So do I think the university has some say? Yeah, I do. They can cut the funding completely. I don't think students should pay for it at all. Okay, it's their First Amendment right. That's fine. Then publish whatever the hell you want, but you're not getting a dime of student funding.
No, Anna, I totally agree.
Okay.
And it's important for the university to respect First Amendment rights of the student newspaper. And so if they disagree with a political opinion there, or they disagree a little bit here or there, or if they disagree completely with the opinions put in the newspaper, I don't want them cutting the funding of the newspaper. That's why I'm trying to be careful. But I think this newspaper is so obviously and clearly over the line that at some point, I mean, what if there was the student KKK newspaper? Should the column that? Of course not. And this is getting pretty close to that, so I don't think the university should fund this either.
Right. And then final little tidbit of information on this story that I found a little amusing. So the editor of the newspaper, his name is Chris Gregorian, and he refers to himself as the editor-in-chief, which, I don't know, for some reason makes me laugh a little bit. Anyway, the media wanted to talk to him and interview him about this story, and he said that he wouldn't speak unless they provided him a case of beer.
Okay. No, but he thinks he's more funny than he is.
I know.
Like, he thinks it's, fart jokes, and I called her a whore, aren't I clever, ha, and I call, it's a black, it's not that funny.
Yeah. The editor-in-chief is a little funny, but the rest of it is, terrible. He's a terrible editor. Anyway, let's take a break. When we come back, I want to get straight to the New Zealand kickboxer video and his massive fail while he was in China. We'll be back on the Young Turks.